Hey, I'm Ethan, one of the game developers in the system. Unlike Austin, I'm not really one of the sort of forward-facing ones very much. I'm not very creative or sociable. I'm just sort of the guy who makes things work, the programmer. But I did have a thing I wanted to investigate recently. So I was listening to Patrick Klepek on Remap Radio, talking about his experience playing Mario Wonder with his kids. He mentioned how running out of lives while playing with his kids would have no real effect except for basically making the kid feel like shit because they get a game over screen. And it's really strange how lives are so vestigial that like their only purpose now is to just shame the people who have less experience playing, which are also the ones who are least likely to predict or recognize the lack of real consequences. So they just get the game over message without even realizing, oh, it doesn't mean anything. The solution to that is to just remove lives, obviously, but my mind thought more about the purpose lives originally served. Like in a game as simple and short as the original Super Mario Brothers, the point of the lives was to kind of issue you a challenge, but give you a bit of leeway in achieving it. Like the game wasn't meant to be a novel or a theme park, it was meant to be like an obstacle course or a puzzle box. It wasn't supposed to hang around and keep giving you new novelties, it was one experience for you to like figure out and master. So naturally, thinking about that makes me want to make a platformer just like that, but I'm not going to go through that entire process. So instead, I just wanted to prototype an idea for how to handle lives in a game like that. So since lives are essentially a buffer for mistakes, like the rate at which you get them essentially acts as a versatile difficulty control. Additionally, the way you earn more in combination with how scarce they are affect how the player plays the game and what their goals are. So I wanted to put that control in the player's hands by making an options menu for lives. On a basic level, there are 3 levers you can adjust with lives: how often you get them, how many you get, and whether they're being added, topped up, or completely reset. A fairly standard approach would be to give the player some extra lives every time they complete a series of levels, like a world in Mario or a zone in Sonic. Alternatively, some arcade games might view each new group of levels as a completely new challenge, and just reset your lives back to basic, regardless of whether you had more or less. So let's consider what we can do with these levers. Maybe you're good with the execution of a game, but you like to rush through and just follow the flow, so sometimes you misjudge what the game wants from you and you die. You could give yourself a buffer of 5 lives per level, and maybe you'll turn off the ability to gather more so that you don't get tempted to grind out extra lives and give in to perfectionism. If you like to take games slower and approach the challenges on more of a tactical level, maybe you give yourself at least 5 lives per zone, but you enable bonus lives. That way you can build up a buffer, but you have to seek out the hidden lives and execute combos. Kids can have a variety of skill levels, especially as they grow up, so while some might benefit from just turning off the live system entirely, some might just need to be given enough lives at the start of each level. So you might give them 10 lives at each time a new level comes around, just maybe that's all they need. These options also open up some fun challenges. So like starting the game with 99 lives, you can never gain more for like an endurance run. You start with just 3 lives and you can earn more for like a bit of a light, an Iron Man light version, or maybe you only start with 1 and you can't earn more for like the real hardcore Iron Man challenge. And then there's the life drain challenge, which is an idea inspired by our partner, where you lose lives at certain intervals, converting lives from a buffer into like a resource that needs to be collected. So going out of your way to find hidden lives or setting up combos to earn them now becomes necessary for your ability to keep playing. You're like fighting the clock now. So in this instance, every time you enter a zone, you get 5 lives for free. But there'll be more than 5 levels in a zone, so you're going to have to collect lives in these different zones. It's like you start you start with these 5 lives in each zone, so you've got a bit of an actual buffer, but you got to net positive your life gain. So that's just a little life-based options screen that I sort of put together to show this off. I think it makes sense to sit this in difficulty options, and I think depending on the type of game you want to make, that it may or may not make sense to have it like this. Maybe, obviously, the life drain challenge is kind of particular, but maybe it's got nothing to do with entering new zones. Maybe it's not about like where you reach in a game. Maybe it's unlocking things if it's a non-linear kind of thing, or whatever, you know. But I think thinking about how lives are used and what their gameplay purpose is, and then giving the player the flexibility to alter how often and how much they get, is like a really good way of adding flexibility to difficulty options without having to individually tweak parry timings or health or damage or whatever. So consider this in your game. Anyway, like I said, I've been Ethan. Thanks for watching.